Last month, I did a short workshop for a group that I'm a part of called Elite Speaker Services, a really great business run by a man of faith named Rich Mungia. And I did it for the other members of this Elite Speaker Services group who have their own businesses. This little brief 20-minute presentation was about how to, in a sense, recession-proof your business if you're a small business. So I'm just going to dive right into it. You'll only see the images. You won't see any speaker or transition stuff. But if you're a business owner, I know you're going to find this incredibly useful. This is a little piece of the content I cover in my business owner mastermind groups, but I kind of customize it, especially for Elite Speaker Services. If you want to reach out to them, let me know and I can put you in touch with Rich Mungia. If you need a public speaker, a professional, well-trained, gifted speaker, or that's you and you want to be a part of the Elite Speaker Services group. Okay, here it goes. Basically, me showing you this is to let you know it is to be expected that in the early parts of your business, if you're a business owner, or if you're thinking about becoming a business owner, you're going to be in a negative cash flow state. But at some point, that growth segment, in order to kind of shoot into the market in a great way, you want to have a very steep peak to that growth phase if you're in that third column. And that's really what this is about. How to get into an accelerated growth phase by having all four revenue streams of business, which I'm going to get into. The most important thing out of all of this is to know that we want to remind ourselves, remind each other, remember that God is the one who grants the increase. No matter how slick of a business person we are, how great of an investor we are, if God's not going to grant it, it's not going to happen. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to say, hey, God, it's in your hands. I just want to catch that overflow. Thank you, God. It's your money. Show me how to use it. So I'm going to do that by basing this lesson on one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 11, 1-6. Now, there's a lot here. I'm going to read through it quickly, and then we'll kind of dive into it. I know you've heard this before, but maybe you've not thought about it from the perspective of revenue streams. Cast your bread on the surface of the waters, for you will find it after many days. Divide your portion to 7 or even to 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. If the clouds are full, they pour out rain on the earth. And whether a tree falls toward the south or toward the north, wherever the tree falls, there it lies. One who watches the wind will not sow, and one who looks at the clouds will not harvest. Just as you do not know the path of the wind and how bones are formed in the womb of a pregnant woman, so you do not know the activity of God who makes everything. Sow your seed in the morning and do not be idle in the evening, for you do not know whether one or the other will succeed or whether both of them alike will be good. Now, this is the NASB. In the NIV, they tweak it a little bit so it sounds a little bit more entrepreneurial. They say, if you can see the red font here, ship your grain across the sea. Invest in 7 ventures, which I think is an accurate way to approach this because of where it ends in verse 6. So your seed in the morning and evening, let your hands not be idle. What happens as business owners, we start making some revenue doing a service or selling a product, and we start banking on that to really take our business ongoing, to make it sustainable, to make it grow. But what ends up happening is as the winds blow in the marketplace, we don't know which way the tree is going to land. So we start watching the tree, this one revenue stream, hoping that we keep getting the revenue, hustling to try to keep it going. I'll give you some examples in a minute. And when the tree falls, that's where it's going to fall. That's up to God, not us. So to protect ourselves from just staring instead of planting, we want to cast our bread upon the ocean. 7 ventures, 8, we don't know what's going to work. We don't know what catastrophe is going to come on the land. We don't know if there's going to be a COVID global virus. So we want to have multiple revenue streams in order to protect ourselves and to keep our businesses growing. Now, if you're a career professional and you don't have a side business, this still works. You can still have some of these revenue streams, which I'll talk about right now. Here are the 4. active revenue, leveraged revenue, passive revenue, and recurring revenue. These are the four. We want to always be focused on how to develop all four revenue streams in our business. We want to keep that in the back of our mind constantly. We're not going to be spending an equal amount of time on all four because remember, we're in a negative cash flow state in the early stages. So we do want to focus on what's generating cash, but we also want to have a focus some of our time and investment and strategy on the other three revenue streams. This does protect us against the risk of economic downturns or market variables or swift changes in technology, increased competition overnight that we didn't expect in our marketplace, and of course, global pandemics. Building four revenue streams is not like a pop-up tent or a switch that we flip and there it is. It takes time. It does take patience. It takes adjustment. It takes faith. It takes, wisdom that we want to ask God for. But as we're doing it, we want to make sure that we're always focusing on all four. Okay, so let's start with active revenue. Here's the definition from one of my favorite websites. If you do not reference Investopedia, please do. It's not just for investment. It's a business definitions website that makes consuming business terms super easy. I love this website. I recommend it to everybody. You have active revenue in your business if you're working 500 plus hours on that business annually. What you're working 500 plus hours on that gives you money, that's active revenue. You're doing the majority of the work in the business, that's the active revenue piece. And you're working more than 100 hours in the business during the year and no other staff works more than you do. That's an or statement, not an and. Here's an example. Let's say Jerome and Latrice both own 50% stake in a small business. That means whatever revenue comes in, they split it 50-50. But Jerome has 75% of the workload. And Latrice, let's say, only takes care of a marketing function, about 25% of the workload. For Jerome, this is active revenue, but it's not for Latrice. For Latrice, it's something else, which I'm going to get to here in just a minute. That's active revenue. For those of you who are like me in a professional services business, and as an executive coach, we can look at it this way. It's what I exchange 1 hour of my time in return for that amount of money. That's active revenue, okay? For professional services like lawyers, consultants, doctors, counselors, dentists. They spend 1 hour of their time in exchange for a set price or price range. And they can earn a great deal of money doing this. There's nothing wrong with having a business that only has active revenue, which these five tend to only have active revenue. But here's the downside. The only way to start scaling your business and have that accelerated growth is working longer hours or charging more per hour or hiring paid resources that you train to do the same thing you do and they split some of their earnings with you. That's a limitation in active revenue. Working longer hours is not always great. And active revenue does tend to demand constant selling, which I hate to do more than anything. I was in sales for a lot of years. It's not a fun thing for me. After 4 or 5 years, I got out of it and got into operations and kind of fell in love with operations. We don't want to run a business where we're constantly hustling. That's going to burn us out. And when certain shifts start happening in the marketplace, the hustle is gone. And now you're going to find yourself with a reduced total revenue. Active revenue is also great if you have a very strong client base that just keeps rehiring you again and again. That's great. Then you can have just active revenue, have fun with it. But like many organizations that you probably know about, a famous one that we all know about, when you rely on one or two big, let's say, contributors to your revenue, a consistent year-over-year client, if they turn the spigot off, you're in trouble. And that happens all the time, especially when there's a big market downturn. which we're kind of getting closer to one, the reset of the market. It's going to happen soon. The market can't stay bullish forever. So entrepreneurs, in order to make active revenue work, tend to get burnt out, tend to start disappointing people, tend to start feeling it wear on them, tend to start kind of dragging out. And ultimately the client suffers because we don't spend as much quality time with each client. I had a doctor in New Hampshire when I lived in New Hampshire. I'm in South Carolina now, but whenever I would go see him, he'd come in and he'd always ask me, do you mind if I don't wash my hands? And I'm like, okay. But the first time he did it, I'm like, why? And he showed me his hands, and his hands were raw from soaping up every time he went in to see new patients. So I asked, why are you putting soap on your hands so much? He's like, I've got so much debt. The only way to pay for it is to start cramming more patients into my day. So I'm running from one patient to the next. So active revenue can sometimes leave your client wanting. So we want to focus, while active revenue is growing and building a cash flow, on the other three revenue streams: leverage, recurring, and passive. Let's start with leveraged. As the title suggests, it's when you get a whole lot of people to each pay a little bit instead of one person paying for all of it. So in leverage revenue, you're going to spend the same 1 hour of time, but now instead of having one person exchange, you're having a whole bunch of people exchanging. And because each one of them are paying a little bit, you have the chance of increasing your hourly rate each time a new person joins this 1 hour session, okay? For example, training programs, workshops like, webinars, client retreats, paid public speaking, of course. Let's give a shout out to Rich for that. Mastermind groups, that's a big thing I do. I run lots of mastermind groups throughout the year. As I mentioned, webinars, and then doing, obviously, because thanks to COVID, other virtual events, okay? These are leverage revenue that you want to think about how to work into your business. Create some products that have this as their delivery so you can leverage your earning for that same 1 hour of time. The idea is to create a way to transfer your knowledge to a large group of people who want to pay to access it, and the payment is not too big of a burden for them to access it, which means we get exponentially higher income as we add more people. Let me give you a simple example. I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but I'd like to show you some numbers. Let's say as a consultant, you charge $500 an hour. This is your active revenue piece. Let's say, you do a client of yours buys 4 hour block of time from you, or 4 1 hour sessions. You're going to make from that one client $2,000. Now let's say you're doing a workshop. You can leverage your earnings by holding a local or national half-day workshop, which is still 4 hours, and your gross earnings could be $2,000 if you spent the same 4 hours that you would on active revenue. But you're going to charge $100 a ticket for anybody to get in. So in order for that half day to make as much as your active revenue piece, you want to have at least 20 people sitting in the seat, okay? As soon as you get 21 people, you've increased your hourly rate. And if you can get 100 people into that same 1 hour block of time, you've just made $10,000. I've been doing this for 9 years, but about 4 years ago, I started really focusing on how to branch off my revenue streams. So I did a webinar, $100 for 1 hour. I got 35 people on one webinar. And I'm realized, yeah, I definitely want to keep doing that. Now, we want to deliver tons of high value to them. It's not just so we can make money. We want them to walk away feeling like, wow, how could this person just give me all that they just gave me for 20 bucks? And they feel like they walked away benefited. This is, again, it's not just a way to quickly make money, okay? Let's get into passive revenue. I do realize I'm going kind of fast. I want to leave time for some Q&A. Passive revenue, this is from the IRS definition. It only comes from 2 sources: rental activity or business activities where you don't materially participate, where you can be sleeping and still be making money, okay? Here are some examples. and this is for you to consider for your business, or even if you have your own career, creating a side gig where you digitize products or your knowledge and sell in an online kiosk. Great way to make passive revenue. Again, it takes a while to build. It's not a pop-up tent, but it's a wonderful way to go about it. Publishing a series of books. That is, now I say series because almost nobody makes money on one book. So I do coach some authors. I always recommend when you start writing that book, keep telling yourself, this is my first book, because you're going to start making money on your third or fourth one. Franchising, affiliate marketing, which I really can't get into the details of the affiliate marketing, but franchising is when you take all of your knowledge and bundle it up to then give to someone else to go do exactly what you did, and they pay you a fee for doing that using under your brand. Passive revenue. Obviously, one of the hottest ways to make passive revenue right now is e-commerce. Drop shipping has become kind of popular, but you don't have to be involved to do it. You can set it up on your website. You can use drop ship plugins that you put on your website, put all of your content on it, and then when people order it, it goes to them. They fulfill all the orders. You don't even have to keep any inventory, and they take about 40%, some cases up to 60, but there are some that still do 40. That's another way to do passive revenue. All right, hurrying along here. Now we're going to end with our recurring revenue. This one is what I would refer to as the holy grail of small businesses. Holy grail is fictitious, so I'm not being blasphemous. I hope that doesn't bother anybody. Here's why. Recurring revenue is when a portion of your business revenue is expected to continue in the future without you having to do anything about it. You can predict what it's going to be without any incremental extra work. The big one, obviously, is a membership to your website, which is a subscription service. Basically, I charge $35 a year for people to be a member of Motivationeer community. They get hundreds of hours of video training content like this that no one else is ever going to have access to, that I will never put on my YouTube channel. For $35 a year, I've got, little over 300. I've been doing it for about 18 months. I have 300 members, and I'm going to keep doing it and keep growing it. That recurring revenue, they put their credit card into my website, and then every year on that date, $35. So every day I see another $35 come in. Software that I use to run my business, that's their recurring revenue. So I pay for the entire Adobe suite so I can edit and create all kinds of great stuff, $56 a month. That's recurring revenue for them. Software doesn't get shipped to you in a hard plastic case, right? It's downloaded and you pay for it monthly. MailChimp I use, these are my overhead costs right here, $161.82. Just to, for those financial geeks on the phone, yep, annuities are a form of, could be looked at as a form of passive revenue, but it's also a form of recurring revenue. Okay. You can talk to your local financial advisor about that. And I do happen to coach 3 financial wealth managers right now that each have 3 different niches. So if you're in the market for a wealth manager, I don't get anything from it, and you want me to put you in touch with one of them, just send me an email. I'd love to do that. They're great brothers in Christ, very true to their word, super honest. You can trust them completely. Okay, this is the 4 revenue streams. You are likely focused on creating one type of revenue right now that's active. I'm asking you to consider going to Google and typing in, how do I make, and then use one of the other 3 words, leverage revenue as an actress? How do I make leverage revenue as a chef? How do I make leverage revenue? And then how do I make passive revenue as a farmer? How do I make passive revenue? And just search and let it start washing over you. Your left hemisphere that God created in his infinite wisdom will, in a very short period of time, start to recognize patterns as you read this stuff. You don't have to grasp it all initially. Just do some searching, read what it says, and your brain on its own is going to start to become more and more familiar. And then you can start figuring out how you're going to pursue each of those other 3 revenue streams. There's a saying I always ask people to consider. if you're considering not doing the other 3 revenue streams, it tends to be because you believe there's a bigger gain for you in the moment right now. Either it's too difficult, I don't have the money, I don't have the bandwidth, I can't hire people, all kinds of things that we say. So I want you to consider this. Maybe memorize this, put this on your wall, and let this guide you. We never want to sacrifice long-term growth for any short-term gain. That will put us out of business because ultimately things change all the time, things that we can't control. They're external blockers and they're in God's hands, right? Deuteronomy 29:29, the secret things are of God. He's revealed some things to us, but the secret things are his. We don't know why things happen in the marketplace the way they do, why competitors want to cheat us, why they steal our clients. But you get all 4 revenue streams, you're going to be protected from all of that. I really hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoy instructing people on how to accelerate their business growth. If some of the names that I mentioned or the services that I mentioned of other business owners in this video are of interest to you, just shoot me an email and I'll put you in touch with them. If you're interested in being a part of my One Master Mastermind group for business owners, please reach out to me. I do them periodically. I've got 2 of them going right now. I'll be doing them every few months ongoing with 12 people around a table discussing their specific businesses with lessons like this, 9 other lessons like this that will help you quickly apply these principles that I do base on God's word into your business growth strategy, client acquisition system, content generation, marketing automation, and way more. Please reach out to me if you're interested in doing that at some point in the future. I really do hope you enjoyed this. May God bless your business. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at Motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.